field day if it was anything like the last, and maybe for a bit of a roller coaster that is a whole lot quicker as we hop on into what seems to be our second map of Nuke to end off for the day. Looking forward to seeing this one. Obviously, again, a bit of a strong suit for Red Canids. Well, we'll see. I mean, again, obviously David never required to have those performances for Red Canids to win, but it is always fun to see, you know, that sort of form take over. We'll see if he can replicate any of that, or if Crew can fight back here on this map.
Yeah, the highlights.
Got a pistol going on here, David. He's gonna get maybe the first chance. He's the first to go down. Actually, ninth on. In unison right there. Rolling on through. Crew looking to stampede their way into this round. Cold finally the one to start to plug the ship, but I think a little too much water has leaked on in, planning on that lower bomb site. Sometimes that water can have a whole lot of chemicals in it, and they want nothing to do with that coolant.
Yeah, I mean, nice that at least Crew can get a decent start. Does feel like anything to start a good game from, and this could definitely be that. I think Red Canids definitely do have a good affiliation with this map. I've seen a lot of good things. I'm thinking about the huge wins they had against Canids on this map, but you've seen the amount of damage 9Z have been able to do at the world stage, so it's definitely one of the highest badges of honor you can have within the space. But I still feel as though their T sides rely very heavily on just individual brilliance, and luckily for them, I mean, they've got plenty of that right now as far as Mirage was concerned, especially. So it shouldn't be a problem, but I am very curious to see how Henny works outside with this AWP, just considering how much damage he was able to do when he was on Imperial. I mean, he would single-handedly be able to win maps for them, for Imperial rather, multiple times over, and I want to see if he's got that little bit of oomph to him on a map like Nuke as well, because I think that could basically take them over the top as another top Nuke team, if that's possible.
Yeah, it's become surprisingly one of the stronger maps in South America, which is interesting. Got a big buff with the addition of Dust too, I feel like. The whole scene as a as a unit. But you know, every like strong South American roster for the most part, like they love a good map of Nuke. They've used that to get their heads back into the scene, so you know, become a little bit more relevant on the global stage. So it is interesting how things work. I mean, not always the map that you would expect, but yeah, I mean, included in that mix is going to be, of course, Red Canids. I'm with you, man. Watching, you know, Henny on some of those maps on Nuke with the Imperial roster was always really fun. Incredibly impressed with some of the output he was able to bring. I want to see him get that op out early. It just felt like he could do towards that outer yard what like a lot of riflers do, and that's just like collect so much smoke spam. I don't even like I can't even wrap my head around it. His op shots would just track them through the smoke, making it pretty difficult to take that out of yard control versus like Imperial in the past. So I mean, I don't know, it seems like a tough thing to lean on for like an oppers to like actually do that on a consistent basis, but somehow Henny had like mastered that.
Ooh, it's the MP9 buy. This is something that Furia has been trying to test out with at Cologne, where they, on the third buy, since the loss bonus hasn't been built up enough yet, they go with an MP9 buy and try to get as aggressive as possible and try to win essentially a bonus round, quote unquote. It's something that I think I've seen a little bit more of the Brazilian teams lean towards. I'm still not convinced entirely about it, but to see another round where we can add to that sample size will be very interesting. So far, the lobby crunch doesn't work out. They're out of utility, so the potency of this buy has very quickly dwindled, and you've got a couple players down lower already, so unfortunate, but I don't think this one's going to work out.
Yeah, I'm interested to see though. Like you said, this is a really cool idea for these third round buys. A bit of an adjustment. Risk taking with the economy is not something a lot of teams are willing to do in the MR12 environment. So it is interesting to see it happen when it does. We'll see what they can make of a round like this. I mean, starting to get into positions, but again, it's more the distance than anything with these MP9s that they have to close. And good utility is going to make this even more difficult. As you can see, Molotov towards that left side, another molly. They're going to be able to comfortably clear these angles. Flashes are decent, but the kills are starting to flood on in, and they can't quite figure out where on earth Coldzera lies. So sneaky. Time being bought off the clock. They're chasing down the bomb planter, and there's just not enough time. Laser is way too far removed from this round. They get away with that sneaky MP9 purchase.
I shut it down thinking that once you have two players down lower, it should be all done. But, I mean, the pace at which these rotations are coming through and the speed at which these guys are swinging out of these angles, it's way too difficult for crew to track. They don't have enough bodies to make sure that bomb gets securely planted. I mean, it is just obscene you can put in. And after that opening gambling, it's done. This should be it. And cannot hold on for that third round. And I mean, other bonus to that MP9 buy is that you're getting money, SMG money in that whole situation as well.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, extra bread, extra $600 for every kill. And if it doesn't work out, it'll just be wiping that clean from your memory and probably getting a... I mean, I imagine they could have still invested in the next, right? With that loss bonus. Is that the kind of end goal? They're still able to afford another purchase afterwards. Very cool idea. This Molotov, David has to run through. Does not make his life any easier here. He gets shut down, and there's more flames to charge through. This utility usage is incredible from crew. And an attempt at recovering some lost space. Numbers get punched in. Tough retake at hand. They're gonna wait it out here. A little more patience being put on display.
Just not gonna go for it.
But eventually a fadeaway. Yeah, I mean, patience turns into worry there, hesitation, and makes sense to probably just call it there.
Yeah, it's not fun to make that kind of a call, but crew, they realize that they just want to cut out any overcomplicated late round plays. They don't want to try and get a player lower and see if they can work around it here. They just call a nice simple set piece on the top site, execute efficiently, and they just overwhelm those side anchors almost instantaneously, and it works out splendidly. And these are the kinds of rounds that you want to just use to reset the situation and command respect of the CTs. You really got to make them fall for this kind of conditioning, give a little bit more attention to that mini side of the map, maybe try to dedicate an extra rotation to that upper site, and that's when you can start to work outside out a little bit more. But we'll see what crew actually want to do in this round, considering they've had that built-in buy. They're gonna go running into ramp, and honestly, I don't like this. I don't mind this call at all, especially considering how much space they've been able to get, but they haven't been able to get the trades that effectively. Sure, Reversive gets one, but they're still down a man, and they've put all their eggs in that one basket, meaning they can't really reroute all much.
So they find themselves a bit boxed in. Ithon on this flank is, in the meantime, taking the initiative to Kind of make the round-winning play. Reverse is going to go and give it a clear, though, and it's too ready still. Even though there was some anticipation of this move, maybe that anticipation giving them enough leg room to land that trade a little bit more comfortably. Snuck past the AWP scope. We'll see where the target selection is. Heading in towards this position means you have to get past Venom Zera. And getting past Venom Zera at an off-angle, comfortable aim duel is not something you'd really favor. There's now a bit of awkward timing. Anorexia has a chance to split in through Mini. Venom Zera not quite registering this, and I think we're going to see very soon Henny be a little bit frustrated. Although this angle still, even if he's surprised by the mini play, is going to be effective in a certain sense, and it's cut off anyways by Venom Zera. He comes in just in time, and he never even has to fire off a shot there.
I could have just spotted out that left side barrel. It works out for the red Canids. They managed to streamline that round well. And good work that crew were able to do with that top pop doesn't net themselves that necessary round. And I have to say, it's reductive, but sometimes you just really need to hit your shots. And the time to kill on some of these ramp takes was just not snappy enough. Now they're gonna try another one to the top lane. Vanquish Cold Zera, but he's just gonna hold down Swan and Cold Zera. We'll just 5.
Those sweet, sweet ecos dealing with that A-side play. I mean, at one point effective. It was a good idea a couple rounds ago, but sometimes you just don't get that too many times and a half. You just don't get the luxury of catching a lacking A side off guard before you start to see them prepared. And I mean, right there you see them very prepared. Good reactions, better rewards. Done. He said, I'm going to commit to this one. Putting himself in a bit of an awkward spot. Still collecting a freebie. Instantly traded, though, this time around. HE exposes, and Deco starting to do what he does best. Put him a bit of weight on his shoulders to step up to the plate. Be more influential on this T side. As needed on Nuke. One of those maps that, I mean, where he comes from in Bestia, again, was one of the strong suits of his prior team, and he was a big reason as to why Bestia were so good in the past, so it's comfort territory for him. His teammates looking to capitalize off the back of that, sliding out. It's only a single that David can find. His multi-kills have been a little more sparing this time around. I think Kenny just going to call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point. There's no point going for it. I do think that he's gonna have to change up his position if he wants to survive the bomb blast. Don't think the lower side's the best position for that, and Deco is already here in secret to try and deal with that kind of circumstance. I don't know if Henny's gonna do that. Out. Not actually a kill for either of these players. They both connect some of their shots. Henny still wants to hold on to fighting, but he'll be happy to go down in that kind of situation.
He was gonna die to bomb, right?
Yeah, you don't care really at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kenny's just consistently fighting right there. I think he knew he was toast. Dead to bomb if he walked any further forward. Not a chance for him to get out. Same case is true, but again, taking that op away becomes a lot more expensive than you'd like. Not enough to break the bank, though. Still cash flow. Red Canids to get another investment on out. This time they need to stabilize with it. Otherwise, the crew could really build up a foundation on this half. Start singing different tunes. Got Nython. We need to catch some of that aggression. The A1S fires up. I think they want to take that secret space back, but that's not really an option for them any longer. It's already too little too late.
gone down lower though. That is something to smile about. Whether or not that actually is enough to pull a rotation is another question. Nighthawk is showing a lot of face there, but Venom Zera has to deal with ramp control, and again it's been lost. It's something that crew have been able to repeatedly pressure in, and now Nighthawk is getting called over, and they've got to stand and deliver. Venom Zero finds himself the first frag, to at least whittle some of these players down, can start to call for the cavalry, because Nighthawk is here to deal with the problem, but Venom Zero, gotten his lines like this, upgrades to the AK-47, gets himself a third kill, and now it's all on Ataraxia. How do you clutch up an instance at 20 seconds left on the clock, op in hand, and no bomb to plant? I mean, I guess you just gotta save, because there is just no way in hell you're getting in through this lower side defense. What a round there from Venom Zera.
Not bad at all, finding himself with the timing. I think, you know, kind of a tough picture painted initially with how things were shaping up, given the initial map control that was established. But it gets a little more pretty as time goes on, and you know, it ends up being a B site commit, that lower bomb site. There's already a lot of individuals ready to go, ready on the defense. So what ends up being like a bit of an awkward start becomes an incredibly strong finish, given the fact that there's just numbers. There's players ready to go on that site. And that helps out a lot, goes a long way in terms of them being able to seal that round in. Now timeout after that kind of read, almost it feels like, right? I imagine that's what it feels like for the crew camp, right? When they walk into that setup, they walk into a bit of a stack there. Oh, a little bit of good positioning. They're in our head. It's up to us to get them out. They're going all in on this investment. They've got an AWP saved over, Galil in the mix. The rest do have pistols. A round that could allow your T-side to take over in the half, but could also give the CTs a lot of control if you don't capitalize.
Yeah, a lot riding on this one, and as you said, smoke spam from any, always good for it. Riggy goes down, and it's still that snake in the grass on this time in garage to deal with this situation. Ataraxia will find the trade. 3v3 lies this round right here, and Ataraxia is going for a play. He wants to get aggressive. He knows that there might not be that topside anchor. He's already on the angle, and he cannot keep up with the pace that Ataraxia had set. This means that a plant is now available on this upper site. Venom's the only player that can actually deal with this way over.
Got themselves a good little 3v2 that Red Canids aren't interested in challenging any further. Up against the pistols, that is a huge way to stay afloat and maintain some advantages in this map. Holding on to a round like this, as I had said, allows you to kind of take over control just that much more on the economy front. A huge relief on the crew camp. Ataraxia again putting that pressure on himself to be the playmaker. That's where some of that snappy, fast flicking aim can get you. Perfect for rounds like these where you have to be opening up the round. Your pistols can maybe do a little bit, but not a whole lot. And as you can see, he's able to bring that full power. I mean, again, with the rifle save, it's not the end of the world. We'll get another gun round out, but a fantastic hold from crew for even more T-side success.
Again to this top side. They know it's a site that has been undermanned, underhanded, and they've not been able to hold it down for as long as they can. I mean, so many top pops working out splendid. Even that low buy in the round previous working its magic. And again, Red Canids cannot go for this. Their finances completely eroded. Henny needs to hold on to the sniper. And crew, they're starting to find the extremities of this Red Canids nuke. I've had a lot of problems with them specifically, and I'm glad to see that crew have done their homework. They found and really making Red Canids try and earn this map win. I mean, 6 rounds on your T side, you'll be grinning ear to ear if you're the Argentinians. I mean, now you're putting yourself into a pole position to try and split maps with Red Canids, and after that Mirage, I feel as though getting out of this situation with the split map affair, it'd be fantastic for them. Now the big question is, what do crew have on offer? And what can Red Canids do to adapt, really? Because they've just not shown enough changes to that topside defense to deal with this kind of a situation.
They got in store for us. Looks like they're interested in once again challenging this A side. Lobby crunch for the CT side. Looking to take some space. Interesting setup here. A couple players ready to go hold on to this aggression. Meanwhile, Versa looking to sneak their way through mini. David immediately cracks with the MP9. And finally, a solid cohesive defense set up by David to start. And now actually playing around the smoke. This might be the one gap to make a winning move, but Nighton eventually reads into it, understands some of those timings and possibilities, and isn't gonna let that fly. I mean, all shots pretty much get shut down at the early stages. David just immediately double kills with that MP9. Probably sets the tone for how the rest of that execute's gonna go.
Yeah, a little bit better there. I mean, it finally has a little bit of pushback outside. You try to make sure that crew can't get too involved there. And situation, get 6 rounds and try and forget what's happened on this. Maybe it's still possible here, but now crew can try their hand at ramp once more, and Venom Zera can only get himself 1. That means this lower side is definitely going to be a problem, but somehow Riggy has snuck all the way down to the secret stairs, has found himself 1, make it a double on a Cold Zera as well, and crew are looking to take a slim lead here at the end of the half, unless Nighton and Henny can do something about it. To be completely honest, there's probably nothing they could ask for. Smoked off is Nighton. Henny is just terrified of even coming down this vent ladder. And eventually these guys are going to have to walk through. I mean, Henny offered up a kill from Riggy, and Deco was now able to convert a full smoke. And now, Nighton rather, now they're swarming into the site. Reversion is there for a trade. Nighton still has an option of winning this round. And I think he's got enough time to defuse the bomb as well. It's going to be close, and yeah, Nighton will find himself a 2-4 alongside Henny. 6-6 reads the score. We're going to take that halftime break.
Second half, it's all knotted up here at the turn of the half, and an incredible resurgence from Crew in this second best of one compared to how things started, and it's going to continue to go their way, at least with an opening kill in the pistol round. Old Zara sits to the sideline. He's been doing really good work in this map, but walking right into the trap. They're somehow flying up the ladder. Venom Zara adjusted on. Riggy continuing to fight from this position. Continuing to find impact. Henny left on his lonesome. And this might not be much of a starter on this pistol. Getting challenged towards this outer yard, but it is handled so quickly. All of these aim duels dealt with in a flash. And a comfortable pistol there for Crew.
Yeah, finding a way to really just quell that all-out aggression from Red Canids. Just trying to form health and comes to be. Crew and Riggy especially just holding on to that unbreakable, or sorry, that red box position near back of spawn for as long as huge. And now Red Canids take this full save. It's not the start that they were looking for. They have to roll it back. They're gonna have to slow it down, but Venom Zara, he wants to keep up this good look that he's had throughout this half.
I mean, you remember what went wrong last time around? It was, you know, Beagles and lacking armor for these players that got them through and quickly ended that last map. They've got to take this one a little bit more carefully. I think they certainly look like they've learned their lesson. Not making too many mistakes. Flying MP9s, making sure to throw the aim off. This one, despite one extra kill, is not lost up against the lesser weaponry. They will be able to convert it and move forward with an 8th round before the first gun round of their opposition comes out. It's a bit of a relief. That's how things should go.
Well, Red Canids will get the guns out now. Have an opportunity to get back into this game before things swell out of control. AWP out for Ataraxia almost instantaneously. And they're thinking about getting antsy through these smokes, especially Venom Zara. Very active, instantly into main, and I don't think Deco was prepared for that at all. Cold Zara is there to chime in alongside of him. Venom Zara will find himself get another kill. I mean, there's 4 players here on this top site, and none of them can get involved. Ataraxia is there for a late rotate, but even that gets stopped right within its tracks. Red Canids, that is a flyer of a start to that top site, and it looks like both of the sides hold that part of the map.
Not a bad way to throw it right back in Crew's face there for Red Canids. Just, you know, what worked against us being now used against the side of Crew. I like the philosophy. Not a bad game plan. And they keep that up. Good look out of the gates. Up against a bit of a wild force spot. We got the YR School of Weaponry in play. It is Nuke, of course.
Yeah.
The XM must be brought out. It must.
Well, look, if there's
Trying times like these, when economy's low.
Yeah. I mean, wherever, I mean, out of all the maps in the pool, it's definitely not the worst one to use that weapon on. And Laser, I mean, they've realized they've given all out of outside control, and Laser now realizes that is a very real threat. Trained on the higher railing angle that traditionally a lot of T's like to take, but they're gonna do a little bit of a low-high setup, or I was thinking they were gonna double peek that, but Nithon will just take care of business. No harm, no foul. And now, this time pressured. Ataraxi's gonna go aggressing into Hut alongside Reversive, but he dealt with. Reversive and Deco chime in.
Reversive went down?
I guess
20 seconds left. This is where time could be a bit of an issue. The Deagle shot, not quite connecting though, and the trades are quick. The cutoff is there. Dicey is what I would call that.
Yeah.
But the kills prepared, the spacing is good enough. It'll do the trick, but you could see the world where that round it collapses right in front of Red Canids. Due to time, due to the positioning of those CTs kind of reading into where the play was heading before, you know, they even knew almost.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of talking about, is that I feel like their T side, they try to brute force their way through a lot of situations, and you know, with the amount of talent on this roster, you can get away with that, and I still know that fundamentally these mid to late round decisions can sometimes be a little sketchy. Crew right now have got to find a way to deal with that and punish those kind of decisions. This won't be the round for them to necessarily do so. David has taken significant damage on these USPs and will get drive-by'd by Reversive. It's 1 AK saved on over. Crew will hold on and save that weapon. But I think that should be the only weapon saved, as Nithon makes a little bit of cash on the way out. Red Canids will find themselves their 9th, and now, honestly, the tables have kind of turned. For the most part, Crew have not been able to hold on to any major choke points on the map, which begs me to believe that a lot of work to do here when we come into this next buy round.
Yeah, then it becomes a bit of a mind game in between Red Canids and Crew of what the next game plan is. What's the next move? What's the next call? If you're ninth on how do you get into the heads of your opposition? Is this going to be one of those power plays? Fast A, use your mechanics to break on through. I mean, in a very similar fashion into which Crew tried to get away with on you. It felt like a lot of upper quick hits were getting them a lot of success. Let's maybe see that same approach. And he does have an AWP, so you'd like to see him work with the op, but now it's actually on the other side of things. Crew looking to force the issue in these opening affairs. Zera challenging with his AK, playing around the box. I mean, should have heard that. Ataraxia inside the smoke, one caught, very low HP, but now the kills all start to flood in the favor of the CTs. Laser Deco and then laser again. Eventually, Ataraxia smoked in his favor, and David has the A-bomb site, but unfortunately without any of the tools he needs to win the round.
Yeah, unfortunately, they try to go for that outside control and try to go to players to deal with that problem, but while all this happens and they move into ramp, they get absolutely toyed with. Laser doing his job with the double kill, slowing the hit and that default down. And Davideus, what do you even do in this circumstance? Just save, I guess, or maybe try to straggling CT. That won't come. Crew tie this affair at 9s, and now we get very interested as to how this goes on, because finally Crew are finding a response back and actually plugging a hole somewhere. This is something that we really struggle with to celebrate about Crew.
It's looked to be like a pretty cohesive, unified setup towards that outer yard out of the gates, and then obviously, as you can see, very clearly unified in that ramp defense as well. Lost out on all forms of approach. Lost out on their outer yard control. Lost out on their aggression towards ramp. So I mean, David left with no good options on this but to save. There's plenty of money to go around in reserves for Red Canids, but you know what I thought was going to be an opportunity for Red Canids to show their experience, show that strength that they have, that advantage that they have over Crew in this series. Instead, Crew are the ones that are forcing the fights, forcing the issues in the early stage, which is very impressive and shows that killer instinct that they need to at least, you know, close out this map division.
it's hard to stick around as an underdog, but they're sticking to their guns, and I've really got to applaud them for that. And now, Crew are gonna have to deal with the same issue this time, a head-on collision into the ramp, and Laser doesn't even want to duel. Unlike the previous round where he delivered 2 frags, he gives it up. And it's not the worst situation. Ataraxia is there to deal if they want to move into hell. And if the fallbacks covered in lobby too. So Red Canids, I mean, minute left on the clock. They've still got a lot of time if they want to double back or potentially catch out a rotation. But Crew are also very stoic here. They're not really giving away anything in terms of information. Finally, Deco makes a move through, and here comes the crunch. It's a late round crunch from Crew, and unfortunately for them, they've fallen right into the honeypot that Red Canids were brewing. And 10 rounds seems all but imminent here for coldzera-led side.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, just perfect trap setup. I mean, it has been the theme. If you look at just that last round, if you're Red Canids, you figured out a way to take map control a little too comfortably. Hitting will even remove those last 2 players from saving, adding insult to injury. But again, they just took that map control a little too easy, didn't they? And that would imply the idea that maybe there's going to be some sort of re-aggression in the mid-round. They were exactly on the money with that call. Something similar. I mean, we didn't get to see a lot of the T side of Mirage, but it's very similar to what they did, you know, early on in that T side. Put a bit of a break in the action. Let the play come to you. Again, they walk right into that trap that set up to perfection.
And now they've essentially got to give away 11. Not what you want after getting a 6-rounded T half. But Red Canids are showing that they've got brawn as well as brain in this offensive half. Versive now Ataraxia aggressing into the lobby to maybe catch out a player. David is very aware. Drops a Molotov at his feet. Plays behind it as well.
Thought for a second you're going for the Burger King foot lettuce bit right there. Turns out it might just be what you get. Crew are getting right now. Again, David hasn't been required to be a superstar like it was in that last map. Just had to find some kills here or there, and it's led them to this position, but maybe one isn't enough because it has given over an AK. Reverse it has strike for another 3 in the round. One by one, they give him these duels. One by one, he wins them. And now he's got control. Round that could completely save Crew the control of this map even.
I mean, it's done. There's 8 seconds left on the clock. They're considering about just going to pick up weapons. Venom Zera is here. He actually goes down after time. Cold's got a hold on for dear life here. And he just will. No recovered weapon necessarily, but that is a round that you should be converting every day of the week. They just get stalled out all across the map, and the indecisiveness comes back to haunt them. Red Canids will take a timeout. They'll try to discuss what just went wrong, but Crew have now been given another lifeline. They've been able to make those 5.7s work. I mean, they get a boatload even after dropping all those bodies. In terms of the weaponry, I mean, you get Ataraxia's AWP out, you get a full belt of utility across the board, and you really put the pressure on Red Canids now after what looked like a T-sided half that should be able to pull away and close it out. I mean, I've really got to applaud Crew throughout this game of Nuke, and just showing to me that they've got a lot of good game plans in place here. And they're really pushing Red Canids to their limits in multiple ways.
Last round, a sign of depth right there. As you'd mentioned, you know, sometimes this team can call upon reversal. This can be a player that strong enough to deliver you around in those high pressure moments. I mean, that's just a bit of individual brilliance from him coming through, and also catching this this T side and a lot of hesitation, a lot of indecision. Right where you want them to be when you're on those ecos, so that you can use time as a factor. As opposed to the weaponry that you lack, but not lacking weaponry in this occasion. Ataraxia strikes for an opening. Beautiful line. An early kill. And not a fadeaway. No, he's going to re-up on the angle.
Now, what do you do in this 4v5? Davides is going to try to search for a kill. And maybe try to pull some rotations over him. He's pulled over a couple of players. Riggy is still here. So I'm going to double back into outside control instead. Mini smoke is in. They're thinking about going through it. Oh, no, I double back.
Again, time's running low. Time's going to be of essence here very soon if they're not careful. That could be another thing that they fall victim to once again. Somebody going to be able to bypass the trap. The setup is patiently waiting for this heaven prong approach. Deco just turns quickly. Deco's still entrenched in the back of the site with only 2 targets left. He goes down, but he goes down with 1 more kill, leaving it on Nathon's shoulders. Sol tied up at 10 with a fake plant. Laser's going to fly up the vents. Nathon, he has to stick the bomb. He's in the open. He's going to go down. He'll get the plant. It's going to be some extra cash, but Laser's going to secure the round. Secure an AWP. And take a lead for Crew.
Whew, I mean, that is a beautiful setup there from Crew. It's giving really a Red Canids a taste of their own medicine. You've got a player at Mustang, you've got a player in the back of the site, and a player Tetris. I mean, how do you just pick apart that site? I mean, Red Canids nearly found a way to deal with it. They were able to dislodge Deco, and they even dealt with the Ataraxia rotation. But Laser stepping up when they needed him in that 1v1. Doesn't overcomplicate the situation. Doesn't try to kind of cower away. He plays confidently in the 1v1 and gets Crew their 11th round. One bomb plant does give a little bit more potency to the Red Canids purchase here, but they've really just put all the chips down. They've upped the ante and they've said, we've just got to get it done with this sort of a buy. Crew now knocking on the door of potentially splitting maps with Red Canids, and I've got to say they've really earned this one and earned my sort of respect with how they've been able to deal with multiple perspectives of this Red Canids offense and defense.
They're by no means easy handling this sort of pressure, handling these sort of players. They are overcoming the challenge, overcoming multiple different like economic breaks in this map. Have always figured out a way to remain competitive in it. Now blowing open the smokes, another prong of their approach to hold on to this ground. A lot of damage taken from Coldzera. He looks to slide out for more, but it's all being shut down. One player in the back of Unbreakable being spammed down, but still hanging in there. Not given this kill. He's begging for teammates to come help him, as he still maintains control of the bomb in his hands. A sneak through back big garage. Eventually Henny will track it. But again, it's still a mission to get this bomb. Unknown of where David's location is. Gonna make the job of Henny even more challenging. He's just not gonna get his teammate involved in time. It's being read in on. Reversive is in your head. 2 kills to close. He knows exactly where the next play is coming from. 21 kills now, and 12 on the board for Crew.
I mean, they've seen the light at the end of the tunnel now. They've dealt with the heavier buy that Red Canids can bring forth, and now they've got to deal with just some MAC-10s and some pistols. I'm thinking this is just going to be some all-out Hail Mary play from the T side. See if they can cut down the distance and get in the faces of Crew. But right now, Riggy's not missing a beat, and Reversive certainly isn't either. I mean, you've got so many players gone negative, and they're still pulling out this kind of a performance. It is very impressive to me. It's an all-out cross from Red Canids. 4 players gonna go down the secret stairs. And Crew really do have to keep this in check, get the rotations down as soon as possible, because it's only Deco that will potentially deal with this hit that's coming on in. Oh, and he can't even get one on the fallback. He's really under a lot of pressure here, Cole.
He needs to get some extra support coming through. That's going to come in the form of Ataraxia with his AWP rotating on in. He's going to get some extra help as well, but the smokes are blocking them out of the sight. Eventually, they crack their way through, and Red Cannon's starting to figure out solutions as to maybe how they get their way back into this one. Another headshot of the Cold Zera flying by with the Tech 9. Bomb being planted as well. Spam in a panic as Henny looks to trade things off. And a flash goes in. Henny avoids it. There's more kills coming out of Henny's Galil. And just when the moment seemed the most dire for Red Canids, that's when the stars shine the brightest.
Oh my goodness, Red Canids on the pistols. I mean, they dealt with majority of the rifles and the SMGs and the lot. You're thinking it's over, it's done. That's how Crew just converts. And even Deco, just so much damage on 2 players. Gun goes dry, and then that's it. As soon as he falls, there's not a fast enough rotation to deal with that situation. And now you've got a meager buy on the other end of the equation. Overtime looms here on Nuke. As Red Canids at the 11th hour have found a way back in. How heartbreaking would this be, Cole, just to fall with this kind of a hurdle?
Oh. Looking to avoid that reality, and now the 5-7 strike back all at once. Henny left last man standing. He's giving him op shots, and the 1v5 is quickly turned into a 1v3. He finds another one, but eventually Deco fights in the fire. And that is how Crew do it. They avoid the heartbreak of letting this one slip a little too far out of control. Will close it out in regulation, denying overtime for Red Canids. And again, I mean, fitting in for this squad on Nuke, they just hung in there all the way through. A resilient roster, a resilient team, deliver Red Canids their first loss.
Yeah, I've got to say, I mean, Crew